are back for another video. This one is a little bit more sensitive, but we feel it's probably one of the most important to share and talk about because it speaks of the reality of the depths of things that were happening in there. So we're going to pick up just that Wednesday night before or after we got back from church and before we went on vacation the next day. And for me, it was really looking forward to getting away for a little while. Not so much about, yay, I want to go on vacation. I mean, it was going to be fun, but it was really going to be an escape and a time to get away. And that kind of was escalated, that desire to get away within the next overnight based on what the leader messaged me. But before we get into that, I think you should just talk about kind of like prep the situation before.
So I have a history of abuse that isn't just faith, that isn't just spiritual abuse, but is also childhood abuse. And so my body has internalized abuse over time. And there's been quite a lot of abuse. And so it's not just been spiritual, it's also been familial. And so because my body has internalized that, it has made it difficult to have children. I can maybe speak on this later, but I don't really feel comfortable talking about the condition that I have. But it has made it difficult to have children. And so we first discovered this kind of issue
it's like end of 2018.
Maybe 2020, maybe it was kind of a present, but we didn't know what it was. And then like 2019, 2020, we kind of we found out what it was. And because of the nature of the relationships in this organization, we had to tell them what was going on. It affected our intimacy, and because it affected our intimacy, the way that the leader saw that was that I didn't love Jonathan. I didn't care for Jonathan enough to be intimate with him. And this idea was perpetuated over time. So when they first found out, I was corrected for not loving Jonathan the way I should have been loving Jonathan. Then the pressure came to have children where I wasn't really ready, wasn't even really sure if I wanted to / could naturally have children. So June 2021, Father's Day, the leader came up to me after church and he said, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And at that service, I was worshiping in the back. And he's like, you have nothing to worship for. You're a mockery. You're mocking God. You're mocking God because, see, and he would point to Jonathan and be like, you're hurting Jonathan. You're not, I can't even remember all of it because I, quite frankly, went into a dissociative state. But it like wrecked me inside. I was sobbing sobbing uncontrollably. Do you remember part of what was said?
This was honestly just the beginning of that time in June of 2021. But I just know that he talked about how you weren't talking to him about this topic and how you were, I don't know, not following him. And he like got your chin to look at him because he wanted you to look at him in the eyes. And this whole conversation still is, I mean, it's terrible for you to talk about, but as a husband, it's hard for me to remember and see that I just stood to the side. But this did lead to me realizing I'm never letting this happen again.
Yeah,
for him to speak to you
that
like
was
that
the first
again.
thing in October.
October was whenever we had that long conversation with all the
Yeah,
leaders.
so October, the issue came up again, and heavens to Betsy, I don't remember exactly how it did, but again it was brought up.
Well, I do remember because
Okay.
in this, I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about this because the leader, this particular leader, would come to me specifically and talk to me about our intimacy, and how it was going, what we were doing.
Yeah, because I didn't like talking about it like with him, but it was really the way that this was done was through Jonathan, because Jonathan had the connection and I didn't have the connection, because I was like, I don't like you very much.
So it was very much
So-
like he was basically, if we weren't being intimate enough or whatever to his standards, then
It meant bad for me.
Bad for you. So
Yeah.
it came to a point where he was like, you have to change. Like it just, if you're not going to change by me talking to you, he had to talk to you to basically set you
so
straight.
he muscled his way in.
Yes.
I got you.
And because we weren't ever doing what he deemed was, the thing was, it was never going to work without him. He wanted to get his way in. He wanted to get to the point where he got to talk to you.
100%.
And that's what happened. And we went over to one of the pastors' houses that night.
Yeah.
So there are the two of us and two of the pastors and one of their wives.
Yeah. And so that's where he did, again, disparage us. And it wasn't just me, it was also you. He blamed you for it. He blamed me for it. He said that my biological clock was ticking. He said he shamed me.
He said I could divorce you.
He said that you could divorce me. So then that led to a fear. So this history of, so I had kind of from this abuse that was occurring an inferiority complex in the relationship that I had with Jonathan, that I was the bad one. I was the one that did bad things. I didn't really care for him. I need to earn the love. I need to care for him more. So
it was terrible.
It was really bad. So it's not funny. The only reason I'm laughing is because I could sob. So, but it's really bad. So that's the context.
That was 2021. That's when the foundations were laid.
The foundations were laid that I had to have a baby. I needed to have a baby. Having a baby is is a spiritual fulfillment. I didn't love Jonathan the way I should. So that's another thing that he would use. So that's triangulation, he was causing
a rift.
He was causing a rift. His choice of words, his accusations towards me caused a rift between Jonathan and I, because then Jonathan would see me as not loving him fully, even though I was loving him. Everything was tainted. Everything was tainted by how this individual saw me. So if this individual said I was this way, then it meant I was this way. And I even would wrestle with, was I really this way? Because in this time, going back to even in October 2021, I apologized and I repented, because I was like, listen, I love Jonathan and I didn't want to hurt him. And I remember one of this, and another thing too is this is when they made us get counseling too with
one of the leaders
one
of
of
the
the
church.
leaders of the church
The supposed
on this topic.
top one. Yeah.
And I said to this leader, you know, like, this is not what I meant. Like, I don't like, I would say often, I don't like this. I don't like being accused of something or, you know, being told that I am this way. I'm just like being pretty simple. Like, this is not, I do love him. And that really hurts when I'm being told that I don't love him, you know? And then basically the cop-out answer was, well, this is just something you like need to see. And so I would like repent of not loving him. And but I did, even after the October 2021 and June 2021, I kept going to Jonathan and I kept saying, you know, that's not okay. What happened is not okay. And I kept telling him, like, there's something not right there. I kept kind of like bringing it up over time, bringing it up.
And he had no place being in that area of our life.
Obviously.
You know? And so, like,
obviously,
what he was saying was just completely inappropriate and completely out of line. Much less to say how he treated you, how he treated me. Like, hey, buddy.
He knew specifically, I believe he knows specifically what he was doing.
Yeah.
The pain that was caused.
But that kind of like set up. Mm-hmm. So that was the beginning. And then, so there's an undertone for years about that. Are we going to have a baby? When are we having a baby? Because of the condition.
Pressure to have a baby.
What are we doing?
Going to church, people having babies. Like, pressure, like, are you going to have a baby? Are you going to have a baby? Like,
and you were like looked at as like pretty much the bad one for not having a baby. You were like less than in the congregation because you didn't have a kid. Which is ridiculous because they were valuing.
I believe that I was looked at as less than. However, I don't know if I have any quantifiable evidence to prove that. But definitely, I was the odd one out.
Which also
definitely was. So this will be an important factor in the upcoming abuse that occurs.
Yeah. But so basically in all of this, he brings it back up in my conversation with him that Wednesday.
Yeah. So let me paint the picture for you. We just come home from church, and this is like, I'm barely hanging on. Like, I'm barely hanging on. He's barely hanging on. This is the same day. This is the 7th. This is August 7th. This is when he met at Chick-fil-A and was gaslit. This is when I called the domestic violence hotline.
That same
day. And asked for help. I'm like, my husband's being abused by his pastor. This is when he went to the other pastor's house and apologized and repented. And then we went to church that night. So this is the same day. Oh my goodness, guys. This is the same day. It was
a rough day.
Then, you know, we're like, the Olympics were on. I remember the Olympics were on, and the rain had just started because there's like a tropical storm. Debbie was coming through, and it rained. It was raining so hard. And we're just like laying on the couch, and we're watching the Olympics, but we're like really just not able to move. Like, we're not really able to eat. We're not really able to do much. The suitcases are on the floor, and we're just like, what in the world is going on? Like, what you were just focused on, like, we just need to go.
Yep.
And that was your like escape, like, we just have to go. This is what we got to do.
And of course, we've been to church and we're home. I'm on vacation mode in the sense of like, I'm ready to just be away from work, from everything, from being in the, around people. And of course, the leader can't just let things go. He's got to say something else. He's got to put another word out there. He's got to, mess with it. He can't just let us go in peace and let us be gone.
Yeah, so he gets this text message, and
late that night.
It was like 9:07. It was sent or something. I don't know when you opened it.
I don't remember. I just remember when I
Because we
opened
were
it, I
just
was like,
we
I'm not going to mess with that right
were
now.
really delirious from the day.
I knew that I had to
Then-
respond to him before the vacation, but
Yeah.
my thought process was like, I'm not going to mess with it tonight. I'll respond to him in the morning and then say we're going on vacation, and then it'll be done. But of course, he didn't even let that. I finally had to say, like, I'm not going to talk to you right now about this. Do you want me to read the?
You can read it.
So I'm going to edit a couple things in the message, in the text message, because of this leader calls out some specific things of what Joy just mentioned. But
my medical condition.
Yeah. So that it doesn't, that's not even the meat of the message. But he texts me out of the blue. This is after service. This isn't based on any conversation or anything that was already happening. He said, you may rapidly be approaching a final choice: sedation or put to sleep, for both impregnating and then for birth. If she leaves you no other option, then she cannot refuse, regardless of what she feels about it. I think we just need to let that sink in for a second for people. Because when I read that, to be honest, at that point, like I said, the state of mind I was in, I was just like, I don't even want to mess with this. But I knew it was just like crazy. But just to kind of clarify, like, he gives this, what he's said since then, option of sedation or put to sleep for both impregnating and giving birth. But the part where it goes even further downhill is where he says, to me, if Joy leaves me no option, then she cannot refuse, regardless of how she feels about it. We all know what that is: non-consensual sex. And he basically was telling me that she couldn't refuse. She couldn't have any autonomy, say yes or no. She just had to do whatever I wanted to.
To further contextualize this heinous text message, he, I believe, had full understanding of the power of his words and like the power and his authority and influence over Jonathan to inflict this upon me, because he knew that it was difficult for Jonathan to say no to him. And think about it, that day, Jonathan had just gone to him and repented and apologized and was wanting to get into his good graces. And how would he maintain this good grace? He would inflict this evil. So it is quite complex, but it isn't necessary for me to explain that the level of coercive control, and quite frankly, it's an insight. It gives insight into this particular leader's psyche and like where his brain's at.
And he has still to this day yet to even acknowledge the words that he said. He ignores them.
Yes, we have addressed this with this individual multiple times, and other individuals that are leaders there know about this
and do nothing.
Yeah. So what did you say in response?
I responded again. I waited till the next morning, hoping that my response would be the end of a conversation where he wouldn't say anything else. So I was like, okay, yeah, there are definitely options. Thank you. We're heading out now. We're on our way to Nashville. Looking forward to this time together.
So you're still keeping it light.
Right. I was trying to get him to be like, okay, I hear you. I'm not going to talk about that right now. We're going.
Then he kept talking
But
about
then
it.
he kept talking about it. And eventually, while we were driving to Nashville, I remember we were in a Buc-ee's and we had like no signal in there. But I got enough signal to text him and say, hey, I'm not going to talk right now. We're going on vacation. And he just said, okay. But he had to have that whatever. And when I said what I said too, I just want you to realize, like, I know you realize, but everybody to realize, like, my goal was not even to address anything that he said in the text. It was to get it to stop and to leave.
Because you're like
I was still just like reeling from the day before.
You just had to go away.
I had to get away.
You were also still afraid of him.
Right. And I knew that, like, he had to be responded to. He demands response. If you ignore him, you were like disrespecting to the utmost. Like, I had to respond to him. So that's what happened. And we left and we went on vacation. And I told you about this text that Thursday evening.
Yeah.
And that's when
I began shaking. Literally, my body, I was convulsing. Like, I was so
it was like you were
afraid.
Like freezing cold. That's what I remember it being.
I was just like shivering.
Yeah.
Just like, I was so afraid. And I was like,
I think the fear was too because that you knew how much influence they had over me. So since that time, we have developed a trust and a relationship together where you know me more, and you, in the sense of like, I am going to choose always what's best for you instead of listening to some other person.
Yeah.
And at the
because
time,
at the time, he still had to choose
between that. Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't think that he would never do that.
No.
But the thing that I was nervous about him choosing was that we would still have to be there.
Right.
We would still have. And I knew that this person was really not a safe person. Like, not a safe person. Very dangerous person. And so I was afraid to
be around him.
Again. Go back and be around him. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to talk about this because I am concerned for women in the congregation, wives, young girls, young ladies who are growing up or are already obviously married to these individuals who are probably hearing similar things or probably feeling similar ways, and like they need to meet these demands.
And you just have to know that these things are not okay. Like, yeah. It's not normal. It's not okay.
It is not a measure of your spirituality.
No.
Or submission or anything like that. And I remember that night you knew it was wrong too.
Oh, yeah.
But part of the problem was that it meant that you had to say no.
Right. The hard part for me was I was then having to make that decision of being like, standing up to him and saying no. Like, I've never really done that before, because if you do that, then
you die.
You like,
you don't die,
but like
it's the same as dying. It's
your eternal,
the same.
Your eternal, like, your place before God is,
yeah, it feels like death. It feels like you're facing certain death.
Because it was like your world is going to crumble.
Yeah.
Around. There is nothing else. So I
Because
knew too, like the thing is like I remember trying to rationalize. I'm like, certainly he couldn't have said what
yeah,
he said.
certainly this is
Certainly. And I like we'll talk about some things coming up in the next few weeks or whatever about people in there. He'll say things and it's like they don't even remember it.
yeah.
And that's, or it's like he couldn't have said that, so he must have meant this.
Mhm.
You try to rationalize and reason what he says. But the thing that I love is that I started communicating with him via written word so that I know what I'm remembering is not false because I
It
can
made the
read it.
gaslighting less
Effective.
effective.
Yeah. But
So in the next video, we'll talk about what it was like
yeah,
up in Nashville and then coming back,
when we
and
left.
when we left for good. So
Thank you for listening again. And we definitely are praying for a lot of the people that are being hurt in there still. And we want, you to know the truth about things. And we also just want anybody to know that things like this are just not okay. You don't have to put up with it if somebody is telling you these things or anything similar. It's not right. And ultimately, there is human safety, but there's also Jesus and eternal safety and eternal life. And we just don't want anybody to be suffering like this. And we hope that this word helps people. So thank you very much.